This is a story we reported on when it happened. A known KKK leader was seeking office in Georgia. And according to the locals, he was the favorite to win. I now have an update to that story, but to remind you of his interview and who he is, let's go to the interview.
When did you come out and renounce racism? Because I know you did that in the past.
2019, several times in 2020, but whatever banner I might have been fighting under, the enemy had always been the same, left-wing radicals, socialist.
But the Ku Klux Klan isn't against leftist radicals, they're against black people, Jews. What do you believe now that you didn't believe then?
Like I said, it just depends on who's looking at it. When I've ever read anything like that, it seemed like they were just pro-heritage.
The Ku Klux Klan?
But, well, in some forms. But I'm not here to defend them. It was 28 years ago, and I will not spend one more day I did this last year. No more apologies.
But when I was looking at social media, you had put this picture here saying that Jovi Val was coming to speak at one of your rallies here. And then this is him, Jovi Val, with a racist, and I mean, this is a Nazi hand gesture. And then he posted here, "Get in, we're hunting Juden." So he's talking about Jews. And that's him at your platform. Do you think that's someone who's a white supremacist?
I wouldn't call him a white supremacist. I think Jovi's got some issues. I didn't know he was quite that extreme.
But that was posted before you invited him. When you invited him and said you were bringing him here, he had already posted those things.
Yeah, well, Jovi was involved a lot with the MAGA. I wasn't aware of any of his other street activism.
Street activism, you say? I call that regular ass racism. Yes, you all know each other and you all subscribe to the same ideology. Let's put up a picture of Mr. Chester Doles back in his heyday. That's him, okay? He was qualifying to run for public office in Georgia. In order to do so, it requires candidates to sign a declaration of candidacy and affidavit. That means a sworn statement. That piece of paper has been the focus of an ongoing CBS 46 News investigation that has now exposed 2 convicted felons who attempted to run for office in the state. 61-year-old Chester Doles is a former leader of the Ku Klux Klans. He also spent time in federal prison for gun charges, and before that, beating a black man in Maryland. Good old KKK Chester filed his affidavit, all right? He filed his affidavit, it was March 8th, to qualify to run for Lumpkin County Board of Commissioners, District 3, state of Georgia. CBS 46 News received the signed document from the county when they confirmed that he did in fact qualify. But after CBS 46 started asking questions of local and state election officials, Doles was disqualified. The Georgia Republican Party confirmed they started looking into it after the local news station brought it to their attention. So why was he disqualified? According to Georgia code written out on the Declaration of Candidacy and Affidavit, felons can hold elected office in Georgia if they get their civil rights restored and if at least 10 years have passed from the time they completed their last prison sentence. It has been over 10 years since he was released from prison, but according to the Georgia Republican Party, his rights were not restored in time for the qualifying deadline. Now that poses a question because that means he lied, which was March 8th. In the beginning of the year, the first month, Doles told CBS 46 investigator Rachel Polanski that they had but wouldn't provide any documentation. He said, hey, I have now been cleared. I have everything restored. That is what he said on the record. You were requesting a judge restore all your rights, including running for office. Has that happened? Rachel questioned Doles in February. That matter's been resolved. It's been cleared. I'm good to go, he responded. A month later, after he was disqualified, his answer changed. You had told me when we first talked that your rights had been restored by a judge. So that wasn't the case, Polanski asked. Well, I was asking, and it was not in the judge's authority. He said it's not that he doesn't want to do it, he just lacks the authority. So that was the start. And I've also filed with other departments, and I'm gonna leave it right there, he claimed. Now here's the other side of the coin here. He just admitted he knew his voting rights and his right to run had not been restored. He just admitted that in that interview. When he signed the affidavit, he proclaimed that everything in the statement he made was absolutely true based on his knowledge. He just admitted to lying in a sworn affidavit. Here's my question. I get it, he doesn't qualify, and he never should have qualified to run for elected office. But will the state of Georgia, through the Republican elected Secretary of State, his name is Raffensperger, will he now file charges against that former KKK leader? Because that KKK leader has broken the law, and he has admitted he knew he was breaking the damn law when he did it. He knew for sure there was absolutely nothing restored about his ability to participate as a candidate in the election, but he swore on an affidavit that it was. Now, while the Georgia Republican Party is getting some semblance of praise from people who say, way to go, Georgia Republican Party, for saying no to a known damn Klans member, I say it doesn't go far enough, because this man not only committed a crime in his affidavit, but if he has voted, he has also committed voter fraud. Now remember, right here on Indisputable, we just covered a story of a woman who was given clearance in writing that she was able to run for political office. Well, she got 6 years in prison. It has now been overturned, but she initially got 6 years in prison. A black woman, a Black Lives Matter activist, and the government gave her clearance that was in writing. The judge said she manipulated the government, manipulated the probation office into doing that. This man has nothing stating that he was allowed to do this. Where's his penalty? Jordan, thoughts?
Well, I think it's a good point. What is the party doing here? And I would discourage people from celebrating the Georgia Republicans from getting this guy out, but it seemed to be just on a technicality. It wasn't like they put out all the stops to block him because of his clearly hateful views. And I want to remind people, even though he said in the interview, oh, I've changed this and that, the enemy has always been radical leftists, that's still a core component of KKK ideology. It was beyond, I mean, obviously their first target was Black Americans, but beyond that, it was also Jews, just like so many other hate groups. And it was socialists and communists. And ultimately their enemy is any sort of intersectional cooperative movement, because that would pose a threat to what they see as a potentially or perceived, marginalized white populace, which isn't true. It's rooted in hate.
That's right.
So it's good that he's out. He should have never been included or never been eligible or even close to this position in the first place. But also, I want people to think about why he saw the Republican Party as a vehicle for this candidacy. What about the Republican Party made him feel like that's how he should run, and that's the party in which he should run? And you could probably infer that based on their tepid response to him and hanging it up on a technicality, it's that they recognize that hate groups and hateful people in America are part of their voting base, and they don't want to turn these people off.
That's right, you make a great point, and let me highlight something that's part of qualifying as a county commissioner in the state of Georgia. In order to qualify as a county commissioner, that person must go through, they would like to run as a Democrat or Republican, they must go through the county party system. So the county Republican Party confirms individuals who would like to run on the Republican ticket. They also have the right to say no. And they can give any reason they choose as long as it's not because of a protected classification issue. They can just say, no, we do not support your candidacy. The Republican Party was not strong enough to do that. They decided to hang their hat on a technicality to try to get him out of contention.